Monday I'm over.
I'll shoot for that. Okay. No, Bonnie's got it. Let me call you. Let me see what it's.
Okay. All right.
It's a draft. There's going to be some changes, but
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Don, you got minutes from the last meeting? Back in-
Yeah.
Get planning and
That's the June 6th meeting? Yeah, that's
Yep.
here.
Maybe Sharpie? And there's here.
June 6th, right?
I'm gonna take your week. I'll read it for you.
Because I scared you and I said you were gonna quiz for all that reading material, remember?
Reverses all my referrals which is cool for the tax funds, but not cool.
Okay.
It doesn't get reminders.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just not
Yeah,
that.
push it back to the show.
So
Thank you.
anyway, and again.
Thanks, Cheryl.
But that. Recognize all, recognize all the federal revenue that I reversed out. Spends instead of the opposite.
Okay,
So
you said
anyway,
what was left.
Yeah, so I have one entry left and it's. So, and you did not. You did not.
Okay.
No, you spent, I mean, in federal funding. You only had one.
Okay.
So, yeah, so that was fine, and then it's leaving, I have to look.
Is Dawn here?
400-ish
No,
thousand.
she's still downstate with her.
So that's the entry that.
Her father and mother.
Okay.
She'll be back. She's coming back tonight.
That was 4:30.
Oh, you don't have to report to me.
Her son.
What is that?
No.
We were gonna open up.
Right.
We looked at it all yesterday through my dining room window with the weather. That's cool.
It's easy to not remember that.
I don't know that yet.
I usually put them together, so I don't have.
Oh, 20 pages.
Yeah.
Looks like you did right for this one.
Did you want
Perfect.
that?
And you did, I haven't looked through today to see
So
what
what
it-
it did is it reduced the descending.
No, I'll just run through it and then you guys can first and second it. We'll go through it.
This thing.
You first and I'll second.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the third, what's left, which
It's like
is,
300.
yeah, the deferred should, well, should be 401.
Yep.
So it's the difference in.
Yep.
So that's pretty much.
That sounds correct. Just like to change the question line essential.
Did you take every use asking me what you meant by the word? Really? It just means the name of the fund. It's odd, but it varies. Why does it- Yeah. It's a relationship. Then you wouldn't think that do that, would you? Oh.
She hasn't done it yet, because you already
Yeah.
drafted
Well,
it.
they haven't said they're gonna do anything more, right?
Let me go to that page. just so- I know she did it.
Yeah.
So here, the page that you want to miss.
It's gonna be on 66, and it's gonna be on 59 as well.
Oh.
Or this one.
Yep.
And then this one is.
It's gone. Yeah.
So you can-
And maybe some for the fund is no longer, because it got put into 260.
You didn't see that anymore.
I did, right here.
Oh, okay, yeah, so that, well, actually, we have to present it though, because it zeroes out the fund balance, so like, it's only there for that reason, but I'll withdraw it next year.
Already went through.
And that might be the, that's the same reason this one's still here. is 'cause we have to,
Mhm.
show the transfer out.
Yes, I figured as much as that. I know, because she was asking about the transfers before.
So the transfer.
Leave it
Even when you close up the fund, yeah. you did that one last time.
Yep.
Oh, is there- I don't know where it is, but when. From here.
But did you notice the last meeting? like, all of us-
Materials management thing.
Oh, really?
And we talked about it at one point.
No, because it was where the air vents was, or, that's where the air compressor is going on. It's up there. And so we gave them a couple people who were really hurt.
I think that's just, well, it's hotter.
Exactly.
They also have said. Cheryl and April all both when they're ready for upload. Like the landfill has to be updated with the stuff that we can't do yet. So as soon as it's ready for upload, then you guys can all get your file. Perfect, thank you.
At this time, we're gonna call the meeting to order. We all stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Cheryl, we're all here. Approval of the agenda. Additions, deletions this time.
I make a motion to accept the agenda. as
Support
presented.
that. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Nays, motion carried. Approval of minutes of, from June 6, 2024.
I
Make the motion that we.
And I'll support you.
We have a motion and we have a second. Any questions, discussions? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes, nays, motion carried. Claims and accounts, Gary?
Okay, the claims accounts, our claims come in at $36,203.79. Our EFTs came in at $260,691.14. Desk checks came in at $68,583.32 for a grand total of $365,478.25. And I make the motion that we pay bills.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, without any discussion, hearing none, do a roll call vote, Cheryl.
Pelletier,
Yes.
Hardee's,
Yes.
Pelletier on here. Okay, Olser,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Gerard.
Yes.
Motion carried. Public comment, agenda items only. Okay, hearing none, we're going to new business, the FY 23 audit approval.
Wow, that was fast. Hi, guys.
Hi.
So I'll start out by saying that you do have a draft in front of you of the audit report simply because there's a few things that are just not available to us yet. So we will make those updates in the, before it's submitted to the state. Of course, it will be the final without any changes made, but just wanted to put that out there because if any of you are interested when it is made final, I will be sending electronic copies to Cheryl and Sherry in April, and I can include any of you in on that if you're interested. I mean, they're not going to be major changes, but just a few things are going to be different, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. So, anyway, on behalf of our firm, I would like to thank everybody present for continuing to patronize our firm, trusting us to get the job done and basically work in our home county. So we really appreciate that. We've enjoyed working here, and most of all, it's our great relationship that we have with our contacts here. If there's something comes up during the year, they contact us, and it's a lot easier to address them than it is after the fact or at audit time when we're busy doing, obviously, the audit. So we appreciate the relationship we have here. So thank you for that, guys. I'd like to start by saying the audit went very smoothly this year. I literally have nothing to complain about, and you're probably unfamiliar with that with me. So anyway, if we want to just take a quick look, and the report's going to go faster because of my lack of complaints. So stop me if you want me to go through anything in any further detail. But if you want to just start out by taking a look at pages 1 through 3, that's the audit report itself. You'll see it's a clean opinion as we've had in recent years. No, just note we don't audit the component units that are listed here. The Road Commission, the Council on Aging, and the Library. Those are audited by other auditors, and we get their reports and have them sign a representation letter that they realize that we're using their reports in our report. It's just a legal thing we have to do. But the numbers that are in here on behalf of the component units have not been looked at by us other than just by data entry. So with that said, if you want to flip over to the management discussion and analysis on page 4. And I will say, like we did, like as audits typically go, we do propose journal entries. I mean, we don't, I mean, there's always some changes, right, guys? I mean, there's always something. So anyway, the agreements were all, or the adjustments were all routine in nature, and all of them were agreed upon and reviewed and already posted in the county's books, with the exception of one last minute change that I made. So there weren't any adjustments that were shocking in nature or, oh my gosh, this is materially misstated. They were just the normal adjustments that we always make, deferring property taxes that were just levied and accruing the receivables back, and just things of that nature that are too dull to talk about in public. So with that said, we'll look at the MD&A. This is a narrative of the activity of the county for the fiscal year. So while your financial statements in the main section of the report do not present comparatives with the prior year, you can find those summarized comparatives here. They're much easier to digest sometimes than looking at all the multi-pages of spreadsheets that we have in the report itself. So hopefully you'll find them useful. This is a required section. I mean, anything that's in this report is the way that the GASB forces us to write it. If we were to write the report in a way that we thought was more user-friendly, that we think everybody would get more out of, that'd be great, but we're not allowed to do it that way. We have to use this format. There's several narratives in the MD&A that describe the flow of information between the two types of financial statements that are always presented in these reports. And you'll see the differences between them, and we can discuss a little bit of that. Also, readers will find financial highlights for the year, some financial analysis information, budgetary references, capital assets, and so on and so forth. We don't need to spend a lot of time there because that MD&A is basically a summarization of the financials, and you know the information's there should you want to look at it. But if you want to flip over to page 12, this is the statement of net position. So it's similar to a balance sheet if you were a business entity. It uses the economic resources measurement focus, and it includes capital assets and long-term debt, but also the more complicated items of the audit that are net pension liabilities, OPEB liabilities, and so forth. So a few things I just noted here. There's no major changes other than you'll see an increase in cash over what you had in the bank last year at this time, or excuse me, at the end of 22, roughly about $1 million more in the bank. But again, that could be a timing issue. It doesn't mean that you're flush with cash. A lot of it's just a timing issue. But if you're just looking at the financial statements themselves, if you're comparing this year to last year. That is a major difference I noted. Most of the other accounts have reasonable balances as compared to the prior year. There's always going to be some payroll liabilities. There's always going to be accounts payable, taxes receivable, things like that. So if you want to take a peek at page 13, it's a statement of activities, and it goes along with the net position that we just talked about. A lot of the changes that you're going to see in these first two statements always have to do with the market and how it affects your pension and OPEB liabilities. So in 22, you'll remember there was a big loss, big loss in the pension. So basically you had a higher liability than what you would have because the stock market wasn't kind to your investments with the pension. This year it had the opposite effect. You kind of gained back what you lost in 22. I don't audit that section, so I'm just kind of repeating what our payroll and benefits auditor tells me. So anyway, we'll talk about it a little bit more when we get to the notes, but the goal of this statement is to show what programs of the government pay for themselves and which are subsidized by general revenues. Montmorency County doesn't have any sorts of programs that would logically fund themselves, but larger entities do. So for example, if you're thinking of a larger county that would have a recreational center or a public pool or something like that, it's reasonable to think that those would pay for themselves through user fees. But Montmorency County just doesn't have that. Like everything that you guys do is mostly government funded. And so you're going to see a lot of negatives and brackets in the middle of that page. It doesn't mean that's a bad thing. That's just how the report is set up for, basically you guys are going to follow the same governmental reporting rules as Los Angeles would or any other huge entity. So let's see. You'll see a restatement of the beginning net assets at the bottom of the page. And this is because there was an election made, I think we talked about it briefly last year, to move the MERS net pension liability to the roll forward date from the valuation date of 12/31/22. So April and Julia work a lot more on this than I am. Not really involved. I'm kind of just repeating what Julia tells me always when it comes to pension stuff. But if you want to just mention why they chose to do that, or
Yeah, we get the actuarial from MERS, but we're lucky if we get it in June, let alone before the report has to be completed. So we switched to the roll forward option so that we could then just use the next year's actuarial. So we're not waiting and getting our reports into the state. Because as of right now, I still don't have the actuarial from MERS, so we wouldn't have a report on that at all at this point.
That's been a holdup in the past where I might have been here like June 28th or something, and it's usually because of that. So the fact that the county opted to do that was a huge relief for Julia because she could never take vacation the last week of June ever in here. So the expenses within this statement do include depreciation expense, which is of course a non-cash expense. This year it was $194,000. I only mention this because depreciation isn't reported in the fund financials. For example, like the way that you budget, you don't consider depreciation expense because that's non-cash. So this is the only spot where you're going to actually see that within the numbers. The net increase of the overall government for the year, I mean, this is all funds, was 1.8 million under this method. And this is likely a foreign way for you to look at the financials because it's not how you budget, but it's more of a long-term focus. It's going to include capital assets that are going to be good for another 20 years potentially. So it's more of a long-term focus. If you want to flip to page 14, that's the balance sheet. And this is more of a short-term focus, 12 months only. It's a current financial resources measurement focus. You'll see no long-term debt or no capital assets in these statements. So for example, if you're budgeting and you think to yourself, okay, we need to buy a new police car. You don't necessarily think, oh, well, we're going to depreciate that over 5 years and we'll spread the life out. You think, well, that's going to cost us X amount of dollars and that's what needs to be in the budget. So that's how these statements work. The full amount of your capital outlay is expensed in the year that you do it. Let's see. If you want to flip to page 16. Sorry. Yeah, 16. My apologies. My page numbers are different for some reason. This is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. And it's a summary of all the revenues and expenditures for the year, coming down to a net increase of $848,000 across all funds, leaving a positive fund balance of $4.3 million. The general fund itself had a change in fund balance of $287,000 to the good and an ending fund balance of $2.3 million. So, and the one change that I was mentioning to the ladies beforehand, that like there's a few things we're waiting on that we don't have yet to put in this report, but one change I noticed, because I do my best proofreading after everything's printed, is that I actually audited the ARPA fund when we were here, and so this is on me. But I sadly was on vacation when this was assembled, so I didn't catch it until I was prepping for this meeting. But I need to make an additional journal entry in the ARPA fund, and it will decrease the revenue and increase the deferred. So basically you have about 400,000 as of 12/31/23 left in ARPA to spend. So I don't know what's happened since then, but there's about 401,000 left at the end of 23 that's still deferred to spend. And the reason that the cash balance is higher than that is because in the fund balance is 23,000. That represents the amount of interest that that money's earned since you've had it. But we're only actually deferring the true ARPA money, and then 23,000 of interest is what's just kind of accumulated and as like an earnings in the fund. So that fund will change as a result of me going back to the office and reprinting it. But anyway, that will be in the final upload. But when we're considering fund balance as a percent, I think every year we talk about how your neighboring counties are doing compared to how you're doing, just to give you a sense of if you're in, if you're doing well, if you're saving too much or spending too much or whatever. With that said, at the end of 23, Montmorency County had an ending fund balance of 48%. And I'll kind of show you your neighbors and we'll talk about how that compares. It basically means that you have about 6 months of reserve. So if all money were to stop coming in and your expenditures were the same as they were in 23, you could last for about 6 months before you'd run out of money, which is not horrible because, as we know, money is not going to stop coming in. But that's just the doomsday thing that we like to talk about, so everybody kind of knows what you have in reserve. So when I look at neighboring counties, not always are there 23 reports available yet for the same reason that we just talked about. So in pulling up Alpena County's 22, they were at 45% compared to your 48. So not bad at all, a different type of county, of course. Presque Isle County was at 21%, and that was for June 30th, 23. And I know because I wrote that report. So yeah, they were at 21%. And again, that's not horrible. It's just, your general fund is a little stronger. Sheboygan for 22 was at 67%. That's kind of, I guess, what I would call the rich local county. Ascota was at 52%, Alcona 5%. Yeah, they were at 9 the year before, and Alcona, I don't know what's going on down there, but it's likely that the state will come in and start trying to direct their money soon if their fund balance gets any more sketchy. Crawford County is at almost 29%, and Roscommon is at 12.7. So you're definitely healthy. But again, that doesn't mean go spend everything. It's just kind of like there's been some, maybe conservative management or whatever that has allowed you to have a healthy fund balance. I don't believe it was this strong when we started working for the county, however many, 5-6 years ago, however many years ago that was. So a lot of it is the market. A lot of it is, just however you budgeted for the years, but it's looking good. So the next several pages, 18 through 20, report on the proprietary and internal service fund activity. This is mostly just your tax collection ins and outs, your foreclosure fund, things of that nature. And 21 and 22 report on the county's fiduciary accounts, which means these are the amounts of money that are running through the money that's running through these accounts represent other people's money. So it's perhaps payroll liabilities, payroll benefit deductions, property tax collections for other entities, things like that. The fiduciary funds are not your money, but you're holding it in custody for somebody else. Page 23 and 24 are the component unit activity. We talked about that. We just get those reports from the other auditors and we publish the numbers. And 25 through 48, there's a large section that is basically just the notes to the financial statements. These are required disclosures. There's a lot of drill down detail here, though. If there's anything in the regular financials that you're wondering about the detail of it, you can often find that in the notes. We won't go into a lot of detail, but a few things I would draw your attention to is on page 41. 41, yep, the dreaded pension note. It's not dreaded this year, but sometimes it is. The MERS plan had $931,000 worth of investment gains during the year, which basically just replaces what was lost in 22. Other factors that are included in this change in pension liability is that the overall liability was, interest expense, service costs, and so forth, increased the liability by $1 million during the year in the change in actuarial assumptions. But then you had the $931,000 worth of investment gains that kind of offset that. There was an overall decrease in the liability, which is what you want, of $765,000 for the year. So again, if you can keep plugging away at reducing this liability over time, that's ideal. The market doesn't always allow for that to happen. And I'm looking at like the middle of the page where it says net changes. You can see the liability went down by 765. And on that same thought, regarding OPEB on page 43, there was an overall decrease in that liability as well of $583,000. So you're kind of at the mercy of how this money is invested, but for 23, those were positive things. Also, I think we talked about on page 47, we don't have those final landfill numbers yet from the landfill auditor. As soon as we get them, we'll update this before we submit it to the state. So that's just one more thing, as I mentioned, has to change yet. The rest of the bond report is the combining statements of the non-major funds, which is detailed out in the summarized total columns in the statements we've already talked about. But if you want to take a look and you have any questions about any actual smaller funds, they can be located in the back. And there's a heading that we need to change back there that is already changed in our electronic copy. April brought it to our attention. If you want to mention that really quick, April. It's just the numbers don't change, but the heading needs to.
Because of a chart of accounts change on page 56, and then again on 59, you're going to see a law enforcement training fund. That's not law enforcement training fund. That's actually the MIDC fund. So you're going to see that that update when she gets the final one done.
It's just the name of the fund needed to change. And I know we usually go through the letters in quite a bit of detail in the back, but I'll just say there's no bad write-ups and no bad comments. So we don't necessarily need to talk about the letters that are, not found in the back. But one thing I will mention is, like, in the letters, we have to write up significant deficiencies and material weaknesses. Anything that we see that we might find is a control deficiency, we can just tell you about verbally and not put it in the information that the state gets because it's lesser in nature. So there was one thing I would like to mention. It's not a huge deal, but I do think it's noteworthy. All governments have processes and systems of checks and balances in place in order to maintain structure and follow prescribed protocol. For example, an employee cutting his or her own paycheck has someone else approving it to ensure they're paid the correct amount. I mean, that's an example of a control. So with that said, in county government, only the treasurer's office should receipt in money. That stands to reason. Even if there's a refund of something that was paid out, the refund goes through the treasurer's office. That's just the way that government's supposed to run. The one exception to this, as we've noted in prior years, is when someone wants to post bail to get out of jail on the weekend when the courthouse is closed. Obviously, the treasurer's office isn't open to receipt in that bail money. But we, in the course of doing the audit, we make numerous random selections of both receipts and disbursements. And we use those selections to determine if the county is following the prescribed procedures that they have in place. We noted more than one instance of the sheriff's department collecting funds for things such as pistol permits, sheriff services, and I believe there was even a grant received that went directly to the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department is not authorized to receipt in funds, and by doing so, it breaks the system of checks and balances that the county has in place. I'm not suggesting anything inappropriate happened at all. That is not what I'm saying. But by not following the proper control procedure, the opportunity for it to happen is there. So not that anything did happen, but we look at the structure to make sure that if everything's happening appropriately, it shouldn't be able to happen. The controls are in place to help prevent and deter problems before they occur. So we recommend that this procedure, I shouldn't say the procedure, but like the procedure begin to be followed, and recommend the practice be corrected. That's the best way to put it. So in closing, it's been our honor to work for the county. We all agree that when the field work was completed, that this was the best the audits ever went for us here. So for everyone involved, thank you for that. So I hope I didn't take up too much of your time on this rainy day. Is there anything I can clarify or go into more detail on that might be helpful for you? I know I talk fast.
Yeah.
I try to slow down, but
Again, and just.
the more I try to slow down, the faster it goes. But I guess when I was a teacher for Northwood University, in fact, April was one of my students, they liked that because we always got out of class early, didn't we?
And you always yell at me for talking
Yeah.
fast. That's probably where I got it.
Now we know where she got it. So I do have a question.
Sure.
And I'm looking on page 15, but I think you mentioned it just a minute ago. Maybe that was the answer to the question.
Okay.
So the OPEB obligation versus the pension liability, we ended up, and it was the difference in the amount was because we had an investment income.
Yes.
Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, so what happens in those accounts is there's service costs and interest that you pay on the liability.
Mhm.
And then there's investment earnings on the money you have in there. And then there's, you know, what the employees contribute, what the county contributes, and then of course the benefits that are paid out to the retirees. So there's all sorts of stuff that comes into that formula. And I am not qualified to talk about it because this is Julia's job, but with that said, she gets these huge reports from MERS and they have tables and actuarial information and all this stuff. And she basically just regurgitates that into the formulas that represent your portion of the MERS money. So I hope I answered that.
Yeah.
Okay. And so like on these reconciliation statements, the MERS and the OPEB liabilities are not in the fund financial statements. They are in the government wide. So you're going to see the huge reconciling items, you know, backing out the liability or adding in the benefit or whatever in these reconciliations. And that's why those numbers look so large. But for 23, the pension liability decreased and so did the OPEB. So that's the positive thing to note. Julia would be really proud of me right now.
Yeah, which is one of our requirements with the cap. We had to reduce those pension liabilities and the OPEB liabilities. So that's something, and after this report's completed, we have to submit that reporting to the treasury for our caps, just showing that we've done this.
And speaking of corrective action plans, I know last year when I chatted here, there was a negative fund balance in the sheriff's fund and there is no longer. I mean, it's a positive fund balance now. It's a small one. I think it's 32,000. So there's not a whole lot to play with there, but it is positive. So the state will not be lecturing anybody about that this year. Anything, guys? Love it, hate it?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I guess I would have been, Mary gave a question or good?
And just to update too, since a couple of you are here that are on the district health department board, that is front and center on our desk today. Julia is still kind of getting information trickling in from Gary to wrap up the single audit testing. That is kind of complicated because it's like there's no level of materiality with single audits. Like in this, we can say, hey, it's $100. It's not material to the county overall. It was a small mistake. Move on. No one cares. But at a single audit level, when it's federal funds, there is no materiality. So everything counts. And so we have to be a lot more stringent on the single audit portion of that. And getting that backup detail has really just been our whole, I think we mentioned to Lloyd, there's no problem with like, no one's thinking anything inappropriate happened. But everything that we selected for testing must be able to be substantiated, or we have to tell the federal government that it was a questioned cost, and that's not what we want to do. So we just kind of keep trying to get that. So I would just update you on that. That is, we worked on it yesterday during our webinar, which is probably not ideal, but we were a little desperate to get it done. So because it is holding up Alpena County's audit report, so we're trying to pull that together just to kind of update you too, because I believe you're the two representatives on the board. Okay. So.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
No problem. So anyway, I will, if nobody has anything further, I can get out of your way so you
I
can.
have
move
a
on.
question.
Oh, sure.
So as it relates, you're talking about the sheriff's department. So as it relates to like the CPL bail money, how is that different this year in 2023 than it has been for the last 20 years I've been here?
We make random selections and that was just a selection we grabbed this year. And I was like, oh, this wasn't receipted in from the treasurer's office. Like it was just because what the testing that we did happened to be one of those items.
Well, there's plenty of things that aren't receipted in by the treasurer's office. I receipt things in as well. I mean, I guess I'm not understanding how.
Well, when it comes to incoming money, it should run through the treasurer's office. Like say, for example, if there's an insurance refund,
Okay.
if the payable was made out, you know, from your office or the controller's office or whoever's office, that's fine. But if the refund comes back, it's supposed to run through the treasurer's office, just because that's how the checks and balances work in county government.
But you mentioned other things that were not refunds, bail money or CPLs. So people go out there to get fingerprinted for their CPLs. There's a fee for that they collect out there. I'm assuming then that money then obviously comes to the treasurer.
And the bail
So-
money does not go. That's the only exception.
They have their own account though, correct? Is that what? Okay. So I guess I'm just not understanding how, so what is your recommendation? How could something change, or are you recommending? that change?
I'm not
Or- I
saying
guess I'm
that
not-
it just started this year. I'm just saying that it developed and we saw it in our testing this year. So that's why I'm bringing it up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay,
it
so-
might have been happening for the last several years and probably always has. But when we make our random selections,
Sure.
we happen to pick receipts that weren't ran through Cheryl's office.
Okay,
Sherry's
so-
office.
So then let me ask, is that procedure any different in any of the other counties that you audit? Or is
The
that?
bail thing is always the same. Like, obviously, if someone's gonna bail themselves out, that can't happen if
Okay.
the office is closed. But typically speaking, it is ideal for all receipts to run through the treasurer's office. Because they're the ones that have the receiving system in place, and that's their function.
But I'm asking you, in the other counties that you also do your audit for, is that typical? Or that it would be, those items would run through the sheriff's department versus being able to be done at the treasurer's office?
Under most circumstances, yes. Again, I mean, it hasn't, like, I don't remember actually testing that last year at Presque County, for example, or any of the other counties.
Okay.
It's like we go through and it's supposed to be considered haphazard testing, like you just pick 25 samples or whatever. And if the system in place does say it's supposed to run through the treasurer's office, whether it 100% of the time does, I don't know, because we only make random selections, but that's how it's supposed to work. So. Like what happens then is, like, say if you get an insurance refund,
I'm not talking, I guess refunds, I think in my mind are different. And in all refunds now, as far as I know, go through the treasurer's office.
right.
So like I get refunded for whatever election
Yeah.
reimbursements
Yeah.
or whatever may happen, and then those go there.
Mhm.
So that procedure has changed over the years as well. But I guess I'm just thinking some of these other things.
I
that
think
are
the
not
one in
refunds.
particular that kind of brought it to my attention was there was a grant, and I don't remember what it was for, but there was a small grant that was receipted in through the sheriff's department instead of through the treasurer's office. So like, what if it's a pistol permit, I mean, like, yes, it's supposed to, but again, they're right out there getting the permit. I can understand that. But when the grant came in and didn't go through the proper channels, that was the bigger deal. Like, that's probably what brought it to our attention to have it put in here for comment. I mean, I can understand the other things,
Okay.
but it was more the grant.
Okay.
So, because in theory, if that wasn't receipted incorrectly, and if the grant wasn't known to everybody else, in theory, you know, and not that it would be, I'm not saying that, but in theory, it could not ever make it through the proper channels and nobody would know.
So when they receive it, it should have gone to the treasurer's office, is
Yeah.
what you're saying?
Correct, yeah. Yeah, just because then that's the system, the protocol that's in place, so. And I mean, it was small, it wasn't like it was a huge amount, but it was a small grant for something, and it didn't run through.
So can I just talk to you after and figure out exactly what grant, what that situation was?
You can, yeah, I don't know that off the top of my head right now, but, oh, hi. How are you?
Cheryl, is there anything in your office that gets receipted into you that doesn't get receipted into the treasurer?
No, everything that
Everything
I
does come
receive
through.
in
Okay,
gets turned over to the treasurer.
I just,
And it's the same way, I'm assuming, with the sheriff's department as well.
Probably
I
just
just
a process there.
thought it was an odd statement to say it should go through the treasurer when there are things obviously that aren't, you can't. I mean, I send somebody else, somebody goes out to get fingerprinted for whatever reason.
and then they gotta come back to the courthouse. and
Yeah, it just
pay
didn't, in my head, it wasn't
here.
adding up, I guess, and I just wondered if there was
Yeah.
something different that changed or. should
No
we
change.
Or pistol
doing
permits would be
something
another one.
different?
Yeah, like the pistol
Or-
permits, like acknowledging that that's obviously a reasonable thing to run through there, as is the
Yeah.
fingerprinting, like, it was just an example of like, these are all the things they collect money for. The grant being like, was applied for through there, and if I'm remembering correctly, was mailed directly there, you know, and kind of didn't run through the courthouse at all, so,
That was an anomaly.
yes, yes.
Got it,
Yeah.
because there isn't many things we get like checks for pretty much anymore.
And I'm guessing maybe it was AED
Process.
is like the only thing I can
Yeah.
think of, was it maybe the AED program?
I would have to, I mean, before I just publicly comment, I would have to look at you.
Well, yeah, I just, I'm kind of with Cheryl, when you were talking about the fees not running through the treasurers, I guess that was, I was kind of on board with Cheryl on the confusion there.
Sure,
So
no.
as far as practice, it's not, I don't want to say abnormal, but somebody goes to Cheryl's office, they pay for a service. and then it gets receipted and it goes to the treasurer.
Mhm.
And no different than, it's kind of the same
Yeah.
process here. The one specific thing you're bringing up is, it sounds like there was a grant that the check came to the sheriff's office directly rather than going to the treasurer's office directly.
Yes, and it was receipted in that way, yeah.
Okay.
So, and it was again, just by happenstance that that happened to be one of the selections, but when it is something that comes up and then it's not, it doesn't follow the typical protocol, then that's when we just.
Yeah, that's when we applied for the AED program, if I recall, I believe that check came direct to us, but we'll discuss it with you and Donna and
Sure,
see
okay.
what's.
Yeah, and again, no implication that anything inappropriate happened. It's
Sure,
just-
no, I understand. I
Okay.
just,
How, because you, since it was brought up, what would you recommend us doing the check to make sure that procedures being followed? Like, is there something in specific that we should be looking for or doing differently on our end? Or their end? Like, I guess maybe helpful tips for like the offices that do that, like, is there
Sure.
something, so that doesn't happen again, I guess?
Yeah, I would say, just turn everything over to Sherry. Or actually, I'm sorry, the treasurer's office.
Yeah, I think that part of it is if you perform that service in your office, you put it through your receiving system. If it's a grant or a refund or something that you haven't done through your office, then it goes to us, not in your transmittal. It's outside of your transmittal, so it's not going through that process. Like the clerk's office, the ROD, they all have a receiving system and they put it through that system and, you know, comes to us. Now, if they get a refund, like Cheryl said, or a grant or something like that, that comes to us separately.
So it's receipted into one office and then turned over to you and receipted in to you as well.
Correct.
And just as to not mask the whole audit with this one little issue, the audit went fantastic. Okay, I mean, I don't want to end on a negative note because that is not at all what I meant to do, but. So it isn't even so much negative as it is like just bringing attention to like, there was one thing out of everything that
you
wasn't
happened to
perfect.
pull, yeah.
So,
Yeah, just so we understand.
Sure,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
And I guess probably like with events that have been in the news lately, we're probably a little more picky about making sure procedures are followed, because when they're not, then that's when things like what has been in the news lately happen, so. Or when they could happen, I should say. Okay, all right, I'll get out of here.
With that being said, you guys need to make a motion to approve the audit, so. for our
Okay.
members.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second, do a roll call vote on that. To approve the.
We're approving the auditor report for
Yeah.
2023.
Sure.
Hardee's,
Yes.
Bolster,
Yep.
Edwards,
Yes.
Gerardin,
Yes.
Pelletier.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on there is visitorial management resolution. Everyone should have got a copy of that.
That what's in the financial.
Okay, so just an update, we had originally done two resolutions. One was resolution 2402, which we accepted the responsibilities of the county approval authority for the materials management plan. And that resolution is good, can stay as it is. But we did a second resolution, number 3, that gave delegated authority to NEMCOG. And after meetings with the landfill and other counties and all around us, it was decided that we were going to do a multi-county plan instead of just a singular plan. So NEMCOG is not going to be the delegated authority for that. They've actually, Alpena, Alcona, Ascota, and Montmorency, and Iasco have all decided that they are going to name Alpena County as a delegated authority. And RSS and NEMCOG will be assisting in making this plan for all of our counties. So in doing that, we need to amend the resolution number 2403 to designate, that we did to designate NEMCOG and change it to Alpena County. And there's a copy of the resolution and how it should read amended in your packet. And then once we do that, we would have to then approve an interlocal agreement, which is basically saying that we are going to work with Alpena County, Iasco, Oscoda and Alcona County to do this. And that'll be the next step after that. And after all of this is completed, I have to send documentation over to our other counties that had reached out to us, Presque Isle, Sheboygan, Crawford, Otsego, and let them know we're working in this 5-county agreement. And then I submit everything into Eagle online, our resolutions in our interlocal agreement and all of our correspondences with these other counties, and we'll be all set to receive that funding. In your packet, you'll also see a note from RRS, which is the company that's going to be helping with all this, and it kind of gives you a breakdown of the whole process of the plan, who's doing what, what the plan consists of, who's going to be on the plan. You guys will be required to assign somebody to that member board. And it also gives you a layout of the cost that we'll be getting from Eagle. All they're saying from us is that we would be paying $70,000 to Alpena County to take care of this plan. All these counties would, but we receive that over 3 years. So we receive our $60,000 initial planning amount. And then because we're in a multi-county plan, we get an additional $10,000, okay? And then on top of that, we also get a 50 cent per capita based off our census from 2020 census. So that means our annual total we'll receive from Eagle is $74,577. So over 3 years, we'll actually receive $223,731. Of that amount of money, 70,000 would go towards paying for the plan to be done. So we're paying Alpena County, they'll pay RSS, they'll take care of all those things for us. So if you guys are in agreement with that, we would need to first start with amending the resolution number 3 and assigning Alpena County as our delegated authority.
How did we get there? We had thought it was going to be for the other counties, so how did we end up going with Alpena?
It was discussed at the landfill. There was a landfill meeting because all those counties are already working together out there. They had this conversation and they included Alpena to take care of it.
In the beginning, Alpena was going to Alpena. The other ones were, we had discussions from RSS and NEMCOG, and they pretty much agreed. NEMCOG is going to work on it. So it was the best course of action to keep it continuity wise. So we're not with NEMCOG and the other ones. So it's all one big, they're all working together on it. So it works out better that way than having a different one, like NEMCOG doing it. So, and they had no problem with it. They're going to work with them. They're going to do something to work through. So wasn't an issue with them at all.
You say that was resolution 240?
24, number 3.
Oh,
We have to amend that.
24, number 3.
And we don't need to rescind it because we're keeping the same structure. And Robert's rule says you can just amend that. So you would be amending it. You need a motion to amend it.
It's the one here. That
Yep.
you printed.
Yep.
In light of that, I would move that we amend resolution 24, number 3, to change the delegated authority from NEMCOG to Alpena County.
Support. We have a motion and a support. Any discussion on the motion?
Would you like me to read the motion, the resolution out?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so whereas the state of Michigan solid waste program was updated with significant amendments to part 115 solid waste management of the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act in December 2022 and became effective on March 29, 2023. And whereas Alpena County is actively developing a materials recovery facility that will serve the recycling processing needs of the region. And whereas the amendments include a new materials management planning process that requires each county to develop a materials management plan. And whereas a county must select a designated planning agency to develop the MMP. And whereas Alpena County has agreed to serve as Montmorency County's DPA. Now therefore be it resolved, the County of Montmorency Board of Commissioners hereby selects Alpena County to serve as the county's designated planning agency.
Okay, with that being read, I'll be. We got a motion, we have a second. Roll call vote on that, Cheryl.
Bolser,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes,
Gerardin.
Yes.
Peltier,
Yes.
Hardee's.
Yes.
motion carried.
April, we
Yeah.
probably need to update the.
Yeah, I'll fix that because it was amended or done with that. I haven't changed that, but I will. So that's approved. The next thing we need to do is the interlocal agreement, and you have a copy of that in your packet as well. Cheryl, you have a copy too. It's a lot of pages, but they put it on like size 16 font. I'm not quite sure why, but so we just need a motion approving this interlocal agreement with these counties, and then we will get it all signed. And I think if you want, you could, because it's just the agreement, if you give me approval to sign it, when I get signed copies from them, I can sign with them and we'll get a full signature copy from all 5 counties.
What is the interlocal agreement for? Is it the same thing, the materials management, or something different?
Yep, it's to establish and manage a multi-county materials management plan. So it's saying that we are going to work with these 5, us 5 counties are going to work together on this plan.
I guess we need a motion.
I'd make the motion to accept the interlocal agreement as presented.
I'll support.
Discussion on it.
I'm just wondering, do you know if Presque County was part of talking about doing that or not?
So when they set this up, we had letters from Presque County, and Presque County, I can tell you if they were working. They were looking at Sheboygan County, doing a multi-county with them, and Crawford, well, it looks like Sheboygan and Presque were looking at a multi-county. And if we were interested in joining that one, we could reach out to them, so.
Any other questions? Roll call vote. Cheryl?
Edwards,
Yes.
Gerardin,
Yes.
Peltier,
Yes.
Hardee's,
Yes.
Bolser.
Yes.
Anything else?
1 second, yep. So I will send out the resolutions and approvals to Eagle and Alpena County and RSS to let them know that we are all set there. And then the next thing I need to know, and I'll also send out the conversation or documentation to the other counties around us, that we're going with this county, this 5 county setup. But I need to know what board member would like to be appointed to the interlocal agreement oversight committee. Because I have to submit that information to Alpena County and RSS as well.
Yeah, one of you two should probably do it. You want to do it? You're still working on it?
What's the time and dates of those meetings?
They're not even set up yet. It's
Probably
just,
don't
this
know.
is all initial, so they basically put you on the mailing list when everything starts up.
I'll take that.
Take it if you can, but it's a conflict. You can always
Yeah.
give it to someone else for years.
Okay.
You wanna, any motion to say that, or you just good to go?
I think we're good to go there.
Okay. I will give you the information then.
Thank you.
All right, so I will get that all submitted over to Alpena County and RSS. That's it for materials management.
That was down to board reports. That's control of treasure.
Well, I still have more. That was just materials management, sorry. Just a quick report on mine. The fiscal 25 veterans grant application was submitted for $59,596. I should have update on that soon if we've been approved. And then also letting you know Doug is working full-time, and we closed the application process window for our assistant for his office, and we will be going over resumes and starting interviews for that.
How many did we get?
5. I received the DHD number 4 allocation request for fiscal 25 from Jerry. that has increased. So they did an overall increase to the allocation for the 4 counties of 5%. So that went up that amount. And then our taxable value went up. So that increased our allocation amount by $7,989 from this year's allocation. So the new allocation for fiscal 25 is going to be $96,351, which we pay out that to them monthly.
And that starts right away.
That starts in fiscal 25. So it won't start till January 1. The BSNA cloud conversion is beginning. I'm working on in the background with Keegan to get everybody set up, users, departments that will have to use it, making sure all the programs are, we have everything set up the way we need it. We're also working with our IT company so we can make sure everything's moved seamlessly. We will not be using our servers anymore, so that's going to save us some money on our IT contract. And I was talking to Common Angle because we won't be backing up that data, so it'll actually save us some money, which would be nice. So I'll let you know when I have more updates to that and when it's going to start impacting any offices or anything for the change. They shouldn't feel any change because it's going to go from one, they can still use the one, and then it'll go to the cloud base. So all the stuff will be transferred. They'll just have to start using the new one.
But there's no timeline for that.
Once I have the backside paperwork completed with them, then they'll give me the strict dates of when things will start occurring. So I have to have all the updates to them by the end of June of all of our users and everything, and then they'll start the process there. The only other update I have for you is the attorney has sent over updated contracts for PLC for review. He sent it to, I received email back from Chris at PLC, the non-supervisor unit approved everything, and that's ready for signature, and we're waiting on the supervisory unit to approve their side, and then we'll that one for signature. So I'll have signed copies of the contracts here for you very soon. And Chad, you did get a copy, correct? And then MIRMA's 2024 annual meeting is going to be August 22nd to the 24th at Grand Traverse Resort. If anybody's interested in attending that, let me know, and we can get you signed up for it. And then we also, a new dispatcher was hired on Monday, Trent Kingus. He started here on Monday, and I don't know if you have, is there somebody else that got hired recently? Nothing else. That's it for me.
You put the.
Yes.
Anything new or standing out?
Nope, I went through everything. I'm gonna email out to the department heads. This is the fiscal 24 budget update, so it'll have the up-to-date one. I have a PDF copy I'm gonna send out to all the department heads today. I just printed this for the board this morning, but I have everything updated for adjustments that I have received. So I'm gonna give a chance to the departments to see if they need anything updated in their departments, and then I'll let you know if there's any changes there, but everything is still good at this point. That's it for me.
Veterans Board.
Second quarter revenue report is attached. You can take a look at that. You got your first quarter. There's not a lot of big changes in there. It's not time of year that money starts flowing in. A couple months before that happens. The townships and schools are getting their L 4029s together, and we'll soon see the summer bills going out. That's when we'll see the revenue start coming. And a lot of the state revenue sharing doesn't come in until later in the year, and sometimes even the following year, and then we just put it back into the year before. So the old business of the retiree healthcare is still incomplete. At the April 18 meeting, you passed a resolution 2024-08, adopting the MERS healthcare savings program for non-union employees hired after December 31, 2014. And I just realized I forgot to print the recommendation. But I am giving a recommendation today for the use of the delinquent tax revolving fund surplus for the other post-employment benefits for that liability to be transferred into the healthcare savings plan at 138.5 and to the retirement health funding vehicle in the amount of $120,000 a year for the next 5 years, which covers your liability for 10 years for the current eligible employees that are eligible to retire, coming up shortly. Or the ones who are currently, yes, with no changes to their policy. I'm simply asking today that you transfer the funds and get it funded. You can make policy changes or whatever you want to do you know,
But it's
after
in
the
the,
fact or leave them.
but it's in the funding vehicle and it's designated at that.
Correct. It's then in the funding vehicle designated for retiree healthcare. And that is my request today, is that you do a motion to transfer those funds so that we're done. You already did your resolution adopting or creating the healthcare savings plan, but yet didn't fund it, didn't actually do a motion to transfer those funds. So I'd like to complete that, so we're done.
I'd make a motion to transfer those funds.
I
To designate
I
them.
just realized I didn't print the recommendation.
Do you want me to say into the retirement health funding vehicle
Yeah.
deposit, with the healthcare savings plan at the 138,500?
Yeah,
What else? That was it.
I think that's it. We just need to transfer, like I said, so that we can get that funding where it belongs.
So right now, the motion is to transfer the 138,500.
Well, and then put all of it into to get it designated into that health,
Yeah,
retirement health funding vehicle deposit.
do you have
This?
a 3-7
I'm just looking at
recommendation?
what you wrote here,
Yeah, no, that's the summary.
the summary.
So I'll read the recommendation again, and then maybe you want to formulate your.
Okay.
I'm not ready to vote today, so if you take your mind, vote your motion. I don't know how the other two are thinking. Is that something you want to vote on today?
Well,
or-
we have to make the motion and discuss it.
Okay.
So the recommendation is to transfer 734,500 in the following manner: a healthcare
Hold
savings
on,
plan.
hold on.
I can give you this.
Okay, thank
In the
you.
amount of 138,500, and the retirement health funding vehicle annually for the next 5 years in 100, and the amount of 120,000. That's the recommendation.
So you were reading for right at the top here?
Yeah.
So your recommendation, 734,500.
Yes. And that, like I said, is a transfer, no changes to retirees hired prior to December 31, 2014. No changes to their policy or anything else, just get the funding where it belongs so that we're covering that liability.
So it becomes a designated fund
Correct.
and it's funded for 10 years.
Yes, as it is right now, the way it is now. And it's budgeted for, and that's the summary you were looking at, budgeted for going forward, so that you're not accumulating more liability.
Made the motion.
Yeah.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Now, you're splitting it now. I would be in favor of putting it all into one right now and then decide how that's gonna be figured out.
I don't believe we can put, for the healthcare savings plan, it's individual accounts. So can we put it all in the retiree health vehicle and then put it
Yep.
into the?
Yeah, you
individual
can put all the
accounts?
money into the
So you can
retirement
do it all
funding
at once.
vehicle unmerged, and then when you make decisions on what you're gonna do with that, then you can transfer it to the other.
So there
plans
to
needed.
be, then we can make the decision how we're gonna split it up.
Yep,
Yes,
yep.
So to be clear, we're not talking about the. other-
policy, you're not talking policy, we're
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah, you're just
funds.
You're marking that money to go towards retiree health, however you choose to do it. So
Okay.
You're putting that money in a
in
place to save
Want
it.
to talk about the other issue, how we're gonna divide it up. I have no problem putting it all into the healthcare this time though,
Yeah, we want it, so it's designated.
but I don't have a problem with that.
into the health.
Cheryl,
If you, I mean, there's still some of us that don't, I don't know.
Yeah, but we're not deciding how. it's gonna be
Yeah, all
split
we're
up,
doing
Cheryl.
is
We're just transferring money into it. The board has to make a decision how that's gonna.
How
be
they're going to
done.
use it,
Within MERS.
yes.
No,
No,
no.
healthcare.
Retiree
Healthcare.
health, so it can be used for retiree health,
Right,
it's
but
saving
it
in
isn't-
there.
Once
it
it's
is a
launched
MERS
off the
vehicle, right?
MERS, is it
It is
locked within
MERS.
the MERS plan?
No.
Okay.
No, it's nothing to do with merger, strictly the healthcare portion. Nothing to do
It
with.
can only be utilized for retiree health purposes.
This is the retiree healthcare.
Within that program that was proposed.
Nope.
No. That's
For the
what I'm
county
saying.
to
I'm
do
not
any
ready to
retiree
vote
health.
on that. I'm ready to
So for
vote,
premium payments,
put the money towards it,
for
but
retiree
not,
health
I don't know
will
how
go
we're
from
gonna split it up yet. Might be a change here, how that's split up.
So actually, we could amend. We could make an amendment to what I just said, that it all goes into the health care
Oh, yeah,
funding vehicle
if you don't,
deposit,
I had it,
separated
oh, well, in over a 5-year period, just to,
to get the funds drawn down.
yeah. I mean, it can be done all at once too. That's
Right.
not.
So that as we figure this out, we can also keep that group that's within those 10 years, we could still designate that they get healthcare like they're getting now, if that's.
Well, it wouldn't change it for this group.
No, it doesn't change it. It doesn't change anything
don't- I mean, it could
policy wise right
change
now. It just
if-
changes, just puts
Okay.
the money there and funds it.
If we put the money into this,
Mhm.
the whole thing would be changed. We could do some with the old and the new. It's strictly putting the money there. How it's divided up
Right.
is up to the board.
Okay.
Correct.
Whether it
All
goes
I'm
into the
asking
new
for is let
group,
me
the old
transfer
group,
the
or
funds.
whatever.
So I can get it into the healthcare savings and then you can do whatever, however.
I don't have any problem with that. I just don't want to split it now where it's going or anything like that. As far as getting it for that, no problem. Is that your motion? Put it all in the big pot and then we'll decide how it's to be split up?
Yes.
Still second that motion? I'll do that.
So Mary,
I
will you
think
just,
don't we need to, can't we make an amendment?
I want you to clarify, is this first paragraph
I
the
don't know what-
motion?
Let me see, I didn't see this in front of me, so I don't have that. Correct. Yeah, it is the recommendation of the County of Montmorency Treasurer that $734,500 be transferred to the general fund from the delinquent tax revolving fund, county foreclosure fund, to cover the cost of the OPEB liability for the retiree health in the following manner. Well, actually, it can end right there for the retiree health
Yeah,
fund.
and leave the rest of it on there.
So right now, it's just going into the general fund.
Right.
It's not going into the MERS.
No, it's going into the retiree.
No. Yeah, it's going into the retiree health. funding fund.
Earmarked for that. We don't, yeah. Yeah, okay.
It doesn't have to be transferred to general fund for me to do anything. I can pay it from general fund, right, or from the DTRF fund right to MERS.
Right.
So leave general fund right out there. It's gonna go right to the retirement funding vehicle in MERS.
So that's probably all that needs to be changed, Cheryl, is just write the, yeah.
So right now, okay,
So
so
like
rather
this would
than,
be for the retiree health funding. Yeah. And. period.
Just, why not wait until you have the whole thing decided?
Because we have the money sitting there,
It's still gonna be sitting there.
and this way it's in the retiree, because that's what we want it utilized for.
So the payment's going to MERS or it's not? I've heard
No.
kind of.
No,
answers.
no MERS. It's
A
strictly
funding
healthcare.
vehicle within,
This is strictly the healthcare
It's
portion,
earmarking
Brian.
it.
Nothing to do with MERS.
Nothing to do with pension.
Right, nothing to do with pensions, correct. That's where we're, I guess.
Well, I understand that doesn't have to do with pension. I'm just wondering, is this money going to MERS for the retiree healthcare?
Yes.
To MERS? That was my
That's the
question.
question,
It was
too.
no, that was going into the general fund. Now it does sound like this money's going to MERS.
No, it goes to MERS into the retiree health.
I think
Care
there's a lot of
funding
confusion going on in this room right now, just so you all know.
That is a product of MERS.
so the money is not being moved to general fund.
Correct.
The money is being sent to MERS for placement in the retiree health funding vehicle.
So my question remains the same, is once that money arrives at MERS, how binding is it to remove it from that?
You have to use it for retiree healthcare.
That's my concern. I think
That
it's
was-
awfully binding before Don's question got answered.
well, we're going to use it for retirement healthcare one way or
But
another.
it sounds like if you put it into MERS, you have to go that direction.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it can be used for retiree health premiums, anything, as long as it's to do with retiree health.
It doesn't have to stay in MERS as part of.
That's my question.
What
I
we're
really
doing
hasn't
with
been
MERS.
answered. It's
They
once
just provide the vehicle for us to keep that money in there and spend it however we want.
Even plans outside that are not governed by MERS,
That's my
that's
understanding,
not my
As long
understanding.
as it has to do with retiree health.
as long as it has to do with
Within
what, like
MERS,
she said,
within MERS.
not within MERS. Only by a vehicle that they have provided.
Just a question for clarification. So hypothetically, the 9 people that are already have their 15 years in, or however many years we needed to have. If you decide to continue to cover the retiree health care as it is now, leave policy the way it is now, you're moving this pot of money. Is that something then that the county can draw from to pay?
Yes.
Cover those
Yes,
people?
that's exactly the
Yes.
reason for it. There's no.
The county's
squishy
allowed
thing
to
here. We
take
wanna
that money
transfer that
then.
money and use it for your retiree healthcare.
You can, the county can use that premium. So the
Is
county
it-
is
Correct.
paying the premium hypothetically.
Yes.
Okay.
Is
So
there any
it's actually-
disadvantage financially to waiting, much like the judge suggested? It doesn't sound like there's any advantage or disadvantage to waiting. It sounds like there's still considerations from the board. So I don't understand.
Other
If
than
you don't know which
your
direction
half-
you're walking, why would you start taking steps in a direction?
I can wait if you, but they want, some of them want to get that into the system and then work out the system.
Well,
I just want to know why. It just doesn't make sense.
let me ask the treasurer, is there a reason that you need to get it out of?
I would like to see it completed, yes, you've started half of it and, you know, created a fund and everything else, this is something I need to do, like, it's on my plate, I'd like to get it off it. It's a matter of transferring the funds and being done with it, for me. What you guys do with policy afterward, you do whatever, but it's a pretty big deal to fund your OPEB liability. And to fund it for a matter of 10 years, you know, and create no future liability, that's a big deal. So yes, I'd like to see it get done. Like I said, how you deal with your policy after the fact is not even on the table. You know, you're going to finally fund that OPEB liability. And as far as I know, it is the only liability the county has. And that's good. I mean, we're already, as the auditor said today, we're in good fiscal health. We'll be in even better fiscal health if we get that funded and we get it designated for retiree healthcare.
It sounds like the answer to my question is no, other than the treasurer wants to move it forward.
So we are required by our cap to start continuing to put down those OPEB and pension liabilities. That's part of our requirement. This retirement health funding vehicle was set up years ago and nothing has been put into it to date. It was said in our corrective action plan that when we set this up, we were going to start putting money into that funding vehicle to help offset our OPEB. Okay, that was one of the requirements of the corrective action plan. We put this money into the retirement funding vehicle. We are taking care of that aspect of our corrective action plan. And it also gives you the peace of mind, flexibility. You can take care of whichever way you decide to go. You can use it alone to help fund your premiums, or you can use it in conjunction with the healthcare savings plan. That's your option. But the reason why the retirement health funding vehicle was set up was because of our corrective action plan. They said they wanted us to start showing us paying down that liability, and this will reduce our liability. Because once it's in there, that'll show as a positive on your audit next year that you've reduced that liability by $734,000.
And it can't be used for anything else.
Correct. It has to be used for other post-employment benefits,
So it just-
not pensions, other post-employment benefits, which is your insurances,
What is the-
healthcare plans, everything.
So as long as it doesn't tie our hands, or any of the things we've been talking about possibly doing, I don't have a problem.
Gary, what do you think?
I'm confused as hell.
That's our concern, Gary. That's our concern.
I'm more than happy to answer the questions. All I'm asking, like I said, for you guys to do is to let me transfer the funds over so that you have covered your OPEB liability. It doesn't have anything to do with who's getting paid how, what, or where, as far as once they retire. It has nothing to do with that. I just want to transfer the funds, get that over with. There's no good reason to wait for it. We've got the funds available. get them put where they are supposed to be, designate them for what you know, your liability. Like I said, now you're giving the county no liability for at least 10 years. And if you budget, like I said, for it, then you can keep that in there. And as people continue to retire and they're given whatever program you give them.
And if we want to pay Blue Cross premiums with it, or we want to.
As long as it's retiree, yes.
Aetna premiums for those folks, then, or if we want to give them a lump sum, we can do that. Do all that.
I guess that's all on the table. This is just a transfer.
This is just the
Right,
transfer
he's
of the
just
funds.
saying.
It's just not tying our hands.
No.
Mr. Chairman, when did you envision being able to make some decision on this? How long were you thinking?
Well, it's gonna be a while for me. I got some issues with some of them, so.
Yeah.
uh,
And we're
I
going
don't
over
talk about it
numbers.
right now, but I do have some issues with it. And it doesn't really do much for the older group, really. That hasn't changed any of that. But the younger group's a completely different program down and under, so I'm not good with it right now as far as how the money's going. I'm okay with the transfer now. So.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I'm going over some numbers. I think it's a bit of a crapshoot, and we can get into that discussion
Yeah,
at a later date.
that's how I feel.
As long as this doesn't tie our hands,
It doesn't appear that it's gonna tie our hands. It's there. However, the board wants to divide it up.
I want somebody from MERS to tell us that.
I agree.
That's just my opinion.
Are you still confused?
Huh? I didn't hear you.
I don't know. Further discussion? or what?
No, somebody else has questions. Oh. And I think, okay, more discussion. I guess we'll do a roll call vote on it, Cheryl.
Jordan,
I think I'm voting no.
Peltier,
Yes.
Hardee's,
Yes.
Bolser,
yes.
Edwards.
Yes. Motion carried. That's just the transfers. Now, how we're
It's
gonna
just
divide
the
it up.
transfer of
Correct.
funds. That's it.
But at least now it's locked up for the
The
retirement.
money up, you're right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm done. That's it.
Morning. As the controller said, we did pick up a new dispatcher that just started this week. They were doing everything was fantastic. That would actually put the dispatch center full staff, which it hasn't been for quite some time. But again, we're not a week into the training process, so we're optimistic that everything was okay. We do have I'm gonna say a new hire, hopefully that should be starting on Monday. Well, we'll be starting on Monday. His name is Kelly Starr. Bring him in and introduce him to you folks. He is from the Alpena area, so local, just not in county at the time.
Is he certified?
He is. So it was very beneficial. So we don't have to go through the academy process. It's a start, go immediately. So that's very exciting. I don't think we have a meeting before the 4th of July, so obviously 4th of July events coming up in a
The
couple
3rd.
weeks. Oh, we're doing the 3rd, okay. Well, a couple parades, Hillman and Lewiston. Other than that, I think that's about it.
Question.
Yeah.
The deputy that was injured,
Mhm.
I understand he's back to work now.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
Light
light
duty.
duty, but yes,
he's doing okay.
he's doing well, very well.
Thank
Thanks for asking, I appreciate it.
Anything else? Okay. Standing, we're down to standing committees. You want to go first, Mary?
We had the opioid meeting, and the minutes are in the packet for anyone. There was just ideas on projects that might be coming through for us to utilize that monies on. So that's what's in this committee hearing, or the committee meeting notes. Basically, what it's coming down to for us, we're gonna try to eliminate the meetings that we have for that committee. We've already set up the system where people can call and request the funds. The guidelines are already there for what they're utilized for, so we shouldn't have to be having multiple meetings and. But we'd still be doing the Narcan boxes, and actually, Catholic Family Services, they had some ideas about getting those filled too. So it should be something that we're just able to funnel the money through that's coming to us for recovery. We did get another settlement. Did you put that in here? Nicole?
I was last meeting or last report,
Okay,
about $56,000.
right. So, and that's, everything else got dispensed like it was supposed to. I don't think there was anything more on that. We had a DHD4 meeting on Tuesday. You already talked about the allocation for the Montmorency increase that was going to be coming. They're, like they said, already in the middle of the audit. That's the first time the health department has ever had a standalone audit for almost 79 years or something like that. It was crazy. And basically what we're discovering is, because it was, a lot of things were never, like the random picks, a lot of things were never brought up that now, you know, they're deficits and they have to change in how they record and fund and transfer the monies. So don't ever do that. You know, that was a lesson learned after 79 years. And that was, they were doing it in conjunction with Alpena County. So that's where the confusion came in. And other than that,
Kevin Prevost is retiring, correct?
he didn't mention anything at the meeting. We've heard scuttlebutt about that he's close to, but he didn't announce that at the meeting.
Ooh.
Our environmental health, Kevin Prevost,
Okay, yeah,
he didn't mention that.
Jerry.
Kevin,
Oh,
not Jerry Hillis.
Not Jerry,
okay,
Kevin.
Okay. Yeah, he didn't mention anything at the meeting. And as I was leaving that meeting, he mentioned to me he may stay on for one more year.
Yeah.
Provided they can find a replacement for him or not.
And they had discussed a weapons-free policy, but it has to be reworked. It wasn't appropriate in the form it was. Or it didn't pass in the form it was, I should say. That's it.
thank you. Yeah. Okay, I've got, wasn't here last time, so I've got a couple of Michigan Association of Counties meetings that I attended via Zoom, which turns, I mean, I've done the last two via Zoom. It's not the best way to do it. Can't always do what everybody's saying, but I will hit the highlights here because there's a lot of stuff. As some of you may know, John Amorine, who is the educator and head guy at our section of the Association of Counties, is retiring, but he'll probably be here till October. So if you need John for anything, he's with Michigan State Extension as well. Energy, legislatively, they're looking at local choice for renewable energy sources instead of being forced. We need, they have 350,000 signatures to get that on the ballot, and they need 500,000. So we're working on that. The sanitary code, the septic system stuff we've been talking about is likely to pass in some form or another. We're trying to get some limitations in there as to one of the things we're hoping for is that we're only talking about stuff that's older than 30 years, close to the water. And then after the fact, some uncertified systems. But that's going to be ongoing, so hold your breath and see what happens. I talked about Voting Rights Act being burdensome on local governments, see how that turns out. Um, Budget recap. Fairly stable revenue. They're looking at getting some money for prosecutors. Juvenile detention agencies were a couple of things. Revenue sharing should increase. They're pretty far apart between the House and the Senate on what the increase should be, from somewhere between 11% to 52%. So,
How much?
11 to 52%.
yeah,
It probably ended up being 3.
Yeah.
Go with COLA.
let's see about that. And that was for our May 5th or May 2nd meeting. And the other big topic there was performance contracting for doing things to do with saving energy. So for instance, the county wants to, let's say, put a bunch of electric, what am I? Well, let's say you want to do geothermal or data logging or quantify your energy loss or those sorts of things. Big projects that we don't have the money to fund. They have money available, and we can start saving. We could put those things in. None of these things we've been talking about yet, but if we did want to do that, you could start paying now and get that going and start saving now and pay for it over time.
Is it just for municipal?
Yes.
So is it a considerable? Geothermal is great.
Yeah. Any big projects that any of the counties are thinking about doing, they don't want you holding off till you got a bunch of money. As long as you're planning on doing it, you can save money. Do it now. Start saving now. That's the key.
So they don't have a cap on the
Pay
amount?
for it over time. Yeah, I'm sure there is. I'm not sure what that is, though. I don't have it in my notes. So we get to talking about that. We haven't talked about it doing any of that.
It makes a huge, we just have a system in our home, and versus trying to pay for propane, natural gas, or wood or anything like that, it's crazy. And it comes with the air conditioning and the heating. It's just this flip of the, switch,
Sure.
and it's wonderful. It's like, electricity costs was, I think, maybe $100 a month, and we have a big home and a lot of things. I'm just saying, it's cost effective on the homeowner side for sure. Big savings with those other.
So there's opportunities out there for us if we want to, if we have a big project in mind, we can look at that. Under MCL section 46.11, that's helpful.
Is everything wells here in Atlanta?
What's that?
Is everything in a well system here, or all?
We got city
public
water
waters?
in downtown here in Atlanta. The rest was, wells. We're on Atlanta.
Okay, moving along, and then the MAC meeting for the 17th this month. Dues. We paid our dues. Question came up, do we need a W-9? They will get you one at a request. Some of the counties said we absolutely have to have one.
Yep, so anytime we pay anybody, we cut a check. Before we cut a check, they have to fill out a vendor registration form and submit us a W-9, so.
So you're already getting W-9s on this. That's not a, okay. That answers the question. Number 401 and 404, the Voting Rights Act. MAC has no position. They're remaining neutral on that. Townships Association, they seem to be split on it. And the Clerks Association remains neutral. Lake levels. Oh, they're looking at making amendment to the state code in regards to lake levels to allow there to be some fluctuation there. Right now, it's static. So if it says the lake level has to be here, that's where it has to be. And then when it goes up and down, then there's, a lot of stuff in place to do that, and they're trying to eliminate that. So I don't know what the difference in the level is. They're working that out, but it sounds like that's gonna go. Trust fund. Okay, and then the presenter that we had was from Charter Spectrum. You've seen these trucks all over running fiber optics and whatnot, and they're doing their best. Part of the problem ends up they had to, all these companies that are doing this have to bid with the federal government to do it, and then they get the bids, and then Charter is working on all of theirs and has them mostly all completed. Some of the other agencies, if you'll see a little part in our county, if you look at the maps where there's nothing there, they didn't get that part. And a lot of those, the agencies that took those on have not done anything yet. So, and I guess their point was they're doing a much better job than most of the rest of them. Other than that, I had a library meeting, not a lot to report, other than they're all looking forward to the summer reading programs coming up, which should be started right now. Thank you.
To talk about library, Lori called me and it looks like you might be getting a grant coming in, but they're not 501c3. So it's actually coming through the Northeast Community Foundation instead. So she's called me so we can work on that together. So it looks like it'll be a grant going into library to help with the fine arts program that they have.
Nice. I guess we didn't talk about that.
I think it just happened.
Yeah.
She called me Tuesday.
Good deal.
So if she's not 501c3, it goes through what?
That's why it's gotta go through the community foundation instead. So it was a bank or some kind of company that was looking to give to this program, but because they're not 501c3, they have to go actually give it to the Northeast Community Foundation, and then they can give it to the library.
So do they have to apply to the foundation?
No, they
It
don't.
just needs to be passed
It
through.
just pass through.
So,
Thank you. Gary.
I had the finance meeting, we already discussed that, in landfill, in FYI, the landfill had a fire out there Saturday. They were fortunate enough to be able to get one of the operators to come out and do some work with a loader to get the fire put out. That's about it. We talked a little bit about recycling as usual. That was the extent of it. That's all I have.
Okay, I had the same thing. I had, and Gary just took all my thunder away. So that's all I had.
What was the fire from?
It was
Trash.
trash in the pit caught on fire. And I don't think we ever had that before, have we?
Oh, we've had fires out there, a few of them.
Oh, okay. Well, it's contained, but they got to put it out. So
It was more of a smoldering fire than it was there's a lot of smoke out there.
that's all I had. Lloyd, go ahead, Lloyd.
On June 7th, I had a NEMSCA meeting. The board met out at Kirkland Yearling at the conference room at the college. There's pretty quick meeting. It was probably one of the shortest I've been to. Budget wise, everything is going real good. Everything is, there's no bumps in the road as far as their budget goes. We spent some time on nomination of officers. There were no elections, just nominations. The next meeting, we're gonna hold elections. On the 10th, 11th, and 12th, I had a conference with mental health. The conference was in Traverse City. I attended the same conference last year. The conference last year was a 4-day. It started on a Sunday, and they immediately started with their board meeting and went right into the classes that they put on out there. Ended on a Wednesday. This year, because of a conference that was previous, we couldn't start until Monday. So registration, signups, and the board meeting was held on Monday afternoon. That gave us all of Tuesday and half a day Wednesday to squeeze in classes. So it was all good. I love going to these. You learn a lot about the mental health, and they're all excellent classes. On Thursday, when we got back, we had our board meeting. The chair was absent, so the vice chair had to fill in. It was a great meeting, and I really liked this meeting a lot more because we had members from the advisory board that got to sit in on our regular board meeting, and the board's members heard from the advisory firsthand, and nothing gets lost in the translation when these folks come and talk to you directly. So that was fantastic. Everything else on mental health is running really good. Our chair will be back. He was off on vacation. Kids are out of school and wanted to break away. So, and then the only other thing I had was on the 17th, I filled in for Don at the finance meeting, which Gary's already mentioned. So that's it for me.
Thank you. The next thing,
Public comment.
next thing is public comments. Yes, ma'am, Judge.
Good morning, everybody. So I just have some good updates for y'all, and I thought it'd be nice to end the meeting with that. So I did want to say the library, they have some really cool kits for kids for summer activities, compasses, learning how to use it, read it, and some other activities that I encourage everyone to get for their young ones. I did want to say, I think it was last Friday, because the internet came up. We had a little situation where the internet was out. Wasn't because of our building, it was everywhere, but it was a little bit of a scramble because we Zoom a lot for court on Friday, but fortunately we sorted it out. We found a hotspot, and then as soon as we got all of that regulated, the internet came on. But it was initially a real panic, but we pulled together, showed some good teamwork. So I thought that was important to know. Chairman Edwards, I wanted to maybe touch base with you privately or later. We talked previously, I think, about the vets office needing a 3-person board for something.
They had one. I'm not sure if that.
Yeah, and so, it was like a couple years ago. Do they still have it? Don't they? Maybe we could touch base.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They did under the last one it left. We did have it. I asked him and there was.
Oh, okay. So maybe it's, they do. I just didn't know.
April might know. You know that?
I'll have to check.
Okay.
I know they had one, but I don't know if it's.
You had mentioned something about a part of it, and I haven't checked that I have to be a part of any designation if we need to do that, or appointment process. So
I
just wanted to make sure.
was concerned some of the things we're paying for.
Right.
And I talked to the previous thing and I said, you got a board? Do you check this stuff? Yeah. I got 3. And he told me the names. I think there was 2 from Hillman, maybe 1 from Atlanta or something like that.
So maybe we can update and make sure everybody's.
Yeah. So,
You know,
and I don't know
if
how
there's a
much
process.
to get with them. I do know we did have it, and
Okay.
And he got that back going because it hadn't been in place for years.
All right, well, that's good, but if there's anything I need to do, I just want to make sure I'm covered in doing
Okay,
it.
sure.
I did want to tell you that we utilized Myrma and Deputy Scheibel and Jody Gordon went to a seminar on court and building safety in Berrien County where they had that terrible shooting and killings. So I think they got some good information. Hopefully they'll share with us at our next court security meeting. And really what I wanted to tell you about today was Law Day. So May 1st is considered Law Day for Michigan or throughout the state, United States, actually. And so we did something different this year and invited every fifth grade class. We had Lewiston, different days, but we had Lewiston, we had Atlanta, and we had Hillman come, the fifth graders come, and we did a mock trial. And I have to tell you, it was fabulous. Those kids were great. And they kind of took over the building for an hour or two, but we had a lot of fun and it couldn't have been done without the help of everybody coming together as part of the court system. So we pulled it together, but we had Cheryl there talking about what the county clerk does and that process. We had Deputy Brown there talking about security and what's involved with having a bailiff there and all of those things. We had the juvenile officer present. We had Kim Gildner as part of Friend of the Court. We had Jody and my staff there, Jill and Nikki, excuse me, and we had Kristen from District Court. So everybody kind of came in and educated these kids. They had a great time. I think they loved it and learned a lot from it. They got to be the judge, they got to be the jurors, they got to be the defense attorney, plaintiff's attorney. And it was just really quite an experience. So we're hoping to do that every year. We even had April and Bill come and help take pictures of the whole group. So it was a good team effort. And I just wanted to let you know that it's really nice to see everybody come together and be a part of that. And really, that's what we're about, helping kids learn the process. The questions they had were unbelievable. Of course, you knew which ones kind of had family in trouble because their questions were all about family members in trouble, but we tried to curtail that a little bit. But I just wanted to let you know it was really successful and hopefully you get a chance next year, come and watch some of it.
Age group, Judge?
Fifth graders. So that's
11, 12.
Yeah, just.
they were really bright. They came up with really good questions and did a great job. So
Any of them ask for a get out of jail free card?
maybe. And as always, my door's open if you ever have any questions or concerns about the court, but I think overall, the ones that I watch over anyway are doing quite well and we're, doing our best to process our cases and do what needs to be done. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Judge. Anyone else for a public comment? Motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a motion?
Second.
Second to the motion. All in favor, say yes.
Aye.
We'll take a 5-minute break today, Don.
I did, I had
I
to.
know you did.
I want to keep the rules going, so I know, like,